Welcome back from that short break. You're still watching Her Moment, and I'm your host today, Asha Kutsum. Yes, earlier I had introduced Arinda Daphine, who is the most popular or famous poet Uganda has ever had. But guess what? With me is Alma, her little sister, and she is also a poet. I must say, we are right into the ear. We are right into the ear, and this is the world of entertainment where poetry is becoming something that can entertain someone or many. Maybe it's part of entertainment, and our little Alma today is with us. Hello, Alma. Be a little bit louder. You know, when you're performing, be like, yeah, you know. Hi, Alma.
Hi.
How are you, darling?
I'm alright.
Who is Alma?
Alma is me.
What is your other name?
My name is Ucher Alma Karanji.
You're also a poet, right?
Yes.
Inspirations from?
Arinda Daphine.
Your big sister. What inspires you to also write poems?
I like poems because it's nice. It's nice. It's like fun. You don't want to play any game, but you're just thinking, and you can just bring it out as a poem.
And when you're writing poems, what do you really want to put out to the people?
I want to put out to the people that I am confident.
And you write about what?
Poems.
Poems. How many poems do you have?
I have two.
Two poems. You cannot imagine. She just has two poems, but she is already performing, and people, you know, give her the ears and they listen to her. That means that poetry is something to take, note of that, you know, it is something that can be played in your leisure time, some sort of entertainment. Maybe you're bored and you put it out. Have you performed this at school?
No, yes, I have, but with a class of students.
So you're the poet of the class?
Like, we were all reciting at once.
So you write for the class?
No, the teacher gives us a poem to practice it. So after, we go on stage, or when we're having assembly, when all students are there. So we recited it as a class with all students.
How do you feel after performing a poem in a certain big congregation with your sister?
Oh, I feel so good.
And after, does your sister give you part of, you know, your kidogo, kintu kidogo?
I don't need any money right now, because she can give me what I need right now.
Wow, we just need her guidance.
Yes.
Do you have any friends at school who would also love to do poems?
Yes, my best friend.
What is her name?
Michelle Kisachi.
She's also a poet.
Oh no, she has not said one, but she wants to be.
So how do you help her?
I help her to be confident because she's not confident enough. So I always tell her, Michelle, you should be confident enough, because once you're confident, everything is just right.
So what message do you put out to the young girls who want to be like you? Because trust me, they've seen you perform and they're like, oh gosh, she's just my age mate and she's doing great.
Oh, like, those girls should be confident, they should be good at English, and they should enjoy, and they should pay attention when someone is talking to them.
So they can pick.
Yes.
What are the titles of your two poems?
The sun, the moon, and the stars, and the humanity.
What's so good about the sun, the moon, and the stars?
They provide light, they're beautiful.
Wow, you're really telling us what is in the poem. Can you please recite it for us?
The stars in the sun, the stars in the sky, the moon that comes at night when it's dark and just gives us light. In villages when it's dark, but you can use the moon to give you light. Children are poor to get torches, but they can use the moon to do their homework.
Wow, you can use the moon to do your homework. This is a very beautiful poem. It just reminds me of the African gone are the times that like 2000, was it 2000, like 1970s or something, when there was no electricity, and that is what they use.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful inspiration for your fellow girls out there. And the other poem?
Oh, humanity. Okay, can I just leave that one?
All right. Well, your other poem is called Humanity. You see, she'll say that if you want to be a very good poet, you have to know English. Yes, then
You should be confident.
be confident.
And you should pay attention to what your elders tell you.
Oh, does that imply that you always pay attention to what Mommy Nyonyozi tells you?
Yes, I do.
All right. Anything that you want to appreciate or acknowledge about your big sister?
Okay. I like my big sister because she's so lovely that when you do a mistake, she will tell you from there. She doesn't want to say, oh baby, oh no, don't do this, don't what. She will tell you straightforward, you should do it and you should learn, never do it again. That's why I like her.
What do you learn from your big sister?
I learned that you should behave well.
Well, she does behave well. And to the little girls, your classmates or the girls who want to be like you, what advice would you put out for them? Maybe in parenting and education.
Like, don't talk while your elders are telling you. Just listen to them and do the right thing.
So, what tactics should they keep for themselves to be good poets?
Confident.
Just confidence.
Yes.
I can really see. Say it again.
You should be confident enough to talk alone on stage.
Oh, so this brings me to a question. What do you do before you go on stage? Like, how do you prepare yourself?
You just have to practice your words and make sure you're good, and then you go on stage and recite your poem.
I'm talking about when you're behind the scene, you're ready on stage, you're behind the curtains. What do you do as Alma before you get in front of the curtain?
Pray to God.
Ouch. That's really nice.
That's all I do.
That's all you do. Beautiful words from Alma. I'm so happy to have met you, and I want to be your friend. You write me a poem, or you write for the clue. I mean, the theme of her moment, a poem.
It's okay.
Well, you are still watching Her Moments, and I'm your host today, Asha Kulsum. Now, before we went back to Daphine Arinda, we had a brief talk with Alma, who happens to be her little sister. Yeah, she now calls her Mama Kenyonyozi. And she's also a poet. And these are some of the things that I've learned from her. Oh, you as a little girl watching Her Moments should go with as a take home. If you want to be a poet, then be confident. Listen to your elders and pay attention to detail. Whatever your friend is telling you, whatever is happening in society, pay attention maybe. That way you will you'll be able to write something about the society, and that way it could be a poem, a beautiful poem. But yes, moving on is we're still talking to Daphine Arinda, our famous poet, and before we went for a break, we really wanted to talk about law, how she brings or blends law and poetry to make kind of entertainment or awareness, advocacy, because she is a lawyer. She is a lawyer, but she is doing her poetry and blending it in with law. So, Daphine, that is what we want to know. How do you bring law into the making of poetry?
Well, I find both writing, I'll speak generally about writing and the law, related in the sense that they both serve society. So as a lawyer, I have skills that that society needs, and these skills include writing, because lawyers write. We write legal documents. We draft stuff. speaking, which is the same with poetry. Lawyer should be able to voice, to demand and advocate and so similar skills in poetry and in law. Then the other thing is that law and poetry also give me access to people. As a performer, I have access to an audience. As a lawyer, I don't have the same access to as big an audience, but then if I bring my skills to this audience, they can appreciate it. So what I've been doing right now has been to I pick a cause, like for my dreams to write. I worked with a community in Ukonjiri who needed a community ambulance, to fundraise for a community ambulance. So if you go to the legal aspects of it, we're talking about access to healthcare services that is very limited in the villages. Yeah. And we're asking, how can we get these services to the people? Because this is law. I'm not in court or that, but it's advocacy work. And we need people to contribute this money. How do we get them? Organize a poetry event. People come for entertainment and then they contribute money to a social cause that is also legal. The other way is to simply write. Sometimes, as lawyers, we're saying, oh, we need freedom of expression is being violated. Why do we have, MPs being violated because they don't agree with the ruling party? But we can't all go around saying, oh, no, we're tired, making noise. Some of us can go and write a poem that can be sung over and over and over. And that's how revolutions happen. So I believe that poetry gives power to the legal aspect of it, and that's how I blend it. I perform for social causes, and then I also write to advocate for things that I believe should change or should, that need to be addressed in our society.
And taking us back is, can you get us scenarios on when you have done this and it has been really successful? Maybe give an example of a cause for an ambulance in the district.
Yeah, so there's that example. Then in February, I'm going to travel to the Netherlands. There's a Justice Partners Forum that's taking place, and it's meant to look at SDG 16 and how rule of law can be, how access to justice can be improved. So I'm going to be speaking about public interest litigation.
Wow.
So, and this, I got there because of my poetry. A group of people came here to Uganda and they were looking for a lawyer who is different, a lawyer who is doing something different. And here I was doing my poetry with my law, and they thought, oh, this is interesting. So they followed me up together with Justice Pat Katurebe. We were discussing the rule of law. The documentary will be out this year. So that is like a major thing for me right now, because it's a product of poetry and the law blending together. And now here I am going to the Peace Palace in The Hague to go and speak to world leaders and economic people and blah, blah, blah. Speak to them with this perspective of a lawyer and a poet, blending the two to improve access to justice, discussing public interest lawyering. How can lawyers use their skills for the public interest, not only for commercial purposes? So that's one way that I feel is really grand. The other one is success of some poems, like a poem like Rebel Queens.
Yeah.
When you write such a poem and everywhere you go, people saying, that poem, you know that people are listening, and they're not just listening to the Rebel Queens. It means it's stuck in their head and the message stuck in their head. So I see that as, okay, now people are listening and they're beginning to appreciate equality, to be respectful of diversity. Yeah, so it's those are some of the examples that I can give.
Through the advocacy and writing about different societies or public interests, do we see poetry or your kind of poetry coming out as a savior for different people? Because some people are ignorant about some things, but when you come out and write about them, trust me, the people in the government or the legislators they are in the know, then the society is in the know, and they come together maybe to solve such a problem.
Yes, there was a human rights conference organized by what's the organization? I forget the organization, but it happened. Human Rights Convention. It's called the Human Rights Convention. It happens every year, and they asked me to write a poem, which I did. And in this poem, I talked about. I had a line that said, "Famine is the new epidemic.
Yeah.
Wealth creation is now operational in USO space. The first brother replaced the first lady." So if you look at, if you're coming from Acacia, coming down towards Chitante, on your right, there's a place that used to have USO, and it was started by the first lady. And right now, it's not there. In US is not there anymore. What's there is Operation Wealth Creation. So we know the politics of our country and how they're played, and how the first family is deeply involved, in each project that is run.
Yeah.
So those lines became quite controversial, and some people wanted me not to say them. But then, because of their controversy, then I insisted and said them, and they spoke grounds. So those are some of the things that we address in poetry that maybe if someone would just walk by and not notice that, but hey, there used to be USO here. Now there's what happened to USO? So it's the first brother who is running this. The other one was the first lady. What are the questions here? Are there any questions to ask anyway? So it's just those small moments that you can capture in a poem that could end up becoming powerful and causing people to think.
Wow, now I see the trend of where we're seeing musicians come out and become members of parliament, and now poets come out to be lawyers, and they're making great work. I mean, pushing for change. What are some of these challenges you face as a female poet and a lawyer? Despite the fact that you're a lawyer, yes, you put you somewhere, but there must be limitations. Like, yeah, I'm a lawyer, but then,
well, the challenge that I face right now really is relevance, proving to myself and to people that what I'm doing is relevant. Because, I left I was working in a law firm. I left in 2016. So since 2016 till now, I've been pushing this poetry thing and doing work on not like a full-time, I didn't have like a full-time legal job, but I've been doing legal work. So oftentimes people will ask like, what's wrong with you? You threw away a career. Or you'll see your friends, progressing, friends driving cars, building houses. You're still there hustling, which for me, it's okay. But I cannot deny that sometimes I feel like, oh God, I wish I had big monies, So that's my biggest challenge, to prove to myself and my society and my parents and everyone that, hey, what I'm doing is relevant. Because people understand that something is relevant when there's money. If there's no money, you're wasting time. So that's the biggest challenge that I have. Maybe the other one is limited access and affordability to documenting my work, taking it from the page or from my laptop into books and, publishing, making videos and putting them online, quality videos. So again, mostly economic.
Do you have laws or procedures that you go through or undertake as a poet that govern poetry industry in the country?
Not specifically poetry, but then we have laws that govern performing arts, and poetry is a performing art. We have we have laws on copyright, written work, on authors. So yeah, there are laws in the country. The only problem is enforcement, as we all know. We have a lot of plagiarism. In one of my poems called Dreams to Write, I talk about, I say our publications lit a NASA road, without regard for copyright. And because of that, we shrivel, we starve.
What do you think could be done, maybe?
The government is trying to do something. There've been a series of confiscating these books and banning them, but we need more. We need more people to do more. The government to continue doing this. We need enlightenment so that even the buyers stop buying photocopied books. If you're going to buy a book and my book is the same price as a photocopy, please buy the original. Don't buy the photocopy. But you can only do that if you know that this is original, this is photocopy. So more enforcement, more awareness.
Are there schools? Before we go to the schools, what can someone do if they want to do poetry, or they are already poets in the making? But then they have issues like of selling themselves, the relevance. Because for you have already made it out there, but the people who are still struggling, like they will only perform to maybe the friends or to the families, but they want to be relevant as well.
Well, that you need to join groups. You need to find like-minded people and belong with them. personally, I am a member of FemWrite, which is a group of women writers, and they're not just women writers, but also male writers, authors, publishers. So again, you're networking, you're being exposed to opportunities. That is great for a writer or for a poet. There's another one called the Latter Meet of Poets. They're also performers. They critique your work. They give you advice. You get to meet other writers. Then you also have to read a lot. I never used to read a lot of poetry. I was more of a writer, less of a reader. But I've realized that the more you grow, the more people you interact with, you need to read, because you're going to go for an interview and someone is going to ask you about Oscar Wilde or some European author. And I'm not saying that you need to know European authors, but if you're going to have a universal conversation with other people elsewhere in the world, it might be good to know these authors and know their work and discuss it. And yeah, so read, study, belong somewhere.
You do poetry in both many languages: Ruchiga, Uganda, English. And what could be the main problems of sticking to one language?
People think it's Western. When you only do English, people will just switch off. Some audiences are not very familiar with poetry. Like our parents, maybe at the age of our parents, they'll be like, poetry, or but when they listen to your work and there's a bit of, there's the traditional sense, they feel they listen to the language, or even just anybody can. We've been listening to Monji, to these Ugandan artists who are singing Uganda words but in like a rap version. We used to think rap was for Americans, but now we have it in Uganda and we enjoy it more, and the flow is good. So yeah, home feels good. Ugandan languages feel great in poetry.
So as the Her Moment team, we would want you to make us a poem. Yes, just a little brief one.
Vachinyajiro, Vamuhuma, Vamuhumuza, queens and goddesses, Vanyarinji, warriors out there. Seize the moment, seize the day, capture the empire, do not subdue, stand strong. This is your moment, her moment. Take on the world.
Wow. I must admit, I'm going to have poetry lessons. I'm going to have lessons of writing poems. Seize the moment, capture the moment. This is the moment, and this has been Her Moment. I've been your host today, Asha Kulsum, and my guest, Arinda Daphine, with her sister, who we had just for 10 minutes, briefly, Alma, who is also a poet. Let's not forget that Arinda is a lawyer in the making. She is a lawyer, but who has decided to do poetry, and through her poetry she's doing advocacy, awareness, talking to society, maybe educating them and putting them in the know of some of the things which is helping us as entertainment people. How are we getting the message out there for the illiterate, or for that person who is ignorant about something? This has been Her Moment. Those of you who have just joined in, you can still catch us on our YouTube channel, that is Rico TV, and Facebook Rico TV. Yes, Arinda Daphine is a female Ugandan poet, one in the making. Like, we cannot, this lady, I mean, she is one of the poets that Uganda is proud to have, and I'll be very soon one of the ladies Uganda is proud to have. Keep watching Rico TV. See you next time, next Sunday. Bye bye.